You can smell what? You can smell what? Okay, so I wanted to come on here and talk about the new movie by Lee Daniels called The Deliverance. I was blown away. I don't know what I really expected, but I was worried it was gonna be bad. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I was surprisingly wrong. The movie is based on a true story, right? Which makes it super crazy already. I then, after watching the movie, went and looked up the woman, the house, the interview that she did. This is actually like really crazy. I was like, wow. I really like the movie because I feel like what it showed the most was sometimes like, also I gotta put this sunscreen on. Anyways, let's get this done. I feel like what the movie did such a good job at doing is it showed abuse, like the mother was abusive, but they also showed that she had like really nice qualities about her, that she was really nice and caring in other times, which I feel like is really important because when people think of abuse, they naturally just think like, oh, it's somebody just hitting you 24/7 and that's it. And you know what I mean? That's why people don't recognize, like, no, most people don't recognize this abuse because there typically is good moments. There are moments where they're like, oh, this person's great and they love and care about me, you know? And so I don't know, I feel like the movie did a really great job showing that. Gotta make sure we get our SPF on. I also like her mother character, right? So her mom in the movie, the woman's mother, which forgive me for not knowing the name of everybody, but she was a white mom, so the daughter's like mixed or whatever. And there's this moment where they're at the hospital and the mother's like asking for help, and the doctor essentially is just looking at the mother, not really looking at the mom. Like, well, I mean, I guess the grandmother. So she's looking at the white grandmother and not the mixed daughter while talking about hospitals. And if you know anything about black women in hospitals, like they're not really taken seriously a lot of times. They're often ignored, neglected, and it's really really bad. But it's like a commonly known thing. Like up until recently, students at schools thought that black people could handle pain more than white people, which is insane if you really think about it. Like it just shows like how that could spread into like their treatment and all of that. I never do my ears when I do sunscreen. I never do. Oh. But yeah, overall, I really liked the movie. Like, I felt like it reminded me of like where I used to live at. Now, I lived in like a suburb outside of Chicago, but what I mean to say is like if you ever lived in a ghetto or a ghetto neighborhood and stuff like that, you would know like that this was kind of on point because a lot of times they don't really recognize like hitting people and slapping people as like abuse, and it's very chaotic. The neighborhood's chaotic. It's a lot going on the whole time, you know. Now, moving on, another thing that I also liked that they did was they did not have the mom immediately go down the basement, which is true. Most black people are not gonna go down the basement. They're not gonna be like, "What's going on? I have to check out what's happening." They're not gonna do that. They're not going to. And I'm happy that they showed that. It was a lot of different moments that they did really amazing. Even the mother being an alcoholic, like showing that she's like out of it, right? Her kids need her, and she's like out of it. But I feel like her abuse was really shown well. Um, I think what was super crazy, and this part right I'm about to say right now is a spoiler, right? So in the movie, there's this moment where the son is at the psych ward, and he jumps out of the bed and walks backwards up the wall. In the interview, the real lady said that this happened. And she said the nurses and stuff ran. So I'm like, that's more than just her opinion. It's more than just her seeing that. These are other people seeing it, which is like really crazy. Um, I think they just did a really good job. They did a great job. This was really done well. I feel like the housing placement, the way that the grandmother was dressed. If you've ever been in the hood, you know white women who date black men look a certain way. They dress a certain way back then. So she looked like that, you know. Just the struggles of her being a mom that didn't have money. It's sad, but like you see it, like her daughter wants a birthday party or a phone, you know, and the mother eventually gets her those things, but you know, it's just kind of sad to see. Like even with her older son like says he's trying to save money to get away from the mom, and it's valid, you know, it's very valid like how he feels. So I thought that was really cool. As far as horror goes, I was so I feel like this is one of those movies where you're not necessarily terrified while watching it. You're like terrified later on when you get like to your room alone. Simply because now that you're alone in your room and now that you feel like it's a real based on a true story and you're alone and there's nobody there, it kind of feels scary. You know, you're kind of like, it's fearful in the essence of like, what would I have done in that situation? You know, there are moments where you're like, oh, you gotta look away because it's scary like that. But I would say it's more mentally scary than anything else. Like, what would I have done in that situation? What would I do in that situation? You know, how would I help my family? What would I do? Who would I go to for help? And, you know, I feel like it was just kind of like that. Also, I just had to say this, that I can smell your nappy out of pocket. Out of pocket. Now, some people were saying he should have never wrote that in. I mean, he wrote it in, so it is what it is. But I was just like, that is really crazy. And I'm also happy that they switched out. Well, I don't want to give too many spoilers or whatever. So it's kind of like a spoiler-free thing, actually, a little bit. Yeah. Overall, I think the production was good. I think the CGI was good. I think the fear level was good. I think the shocking factors were really good. I mean, there were different moments where, you know, I guess this is spoilers are included in this, so this is not spoiler free. But like the older son choking the younger son, and then him looking at the grandmother trying to hang a cross, you know, trying to get some help, and then her later dying. You know, all of these different moments worked really well. I feel like it was a great movie. It was a lot of suspense, a lot of like, you know, scary moments or fear, like where you're just like kind of waiting, like, and so like that fear or suspense is like kind of sitting on your chest, and you're just like, God, what is about to happen? What is about to happen to this family? The characters are very, very deep as far as like they're not just surface level, so it's not a good character, a bad character. These characters have layers to them. The mom, for instance, she's abusive, but she also loves her kids, and she also wants them to have the things that they need. And you know, it's really interesting because I think that's a deep dynamic that's real life, right? Most of these parents, they do love their kids, but they're abusive. So like, you know, there's that, and then the grandmother. We think, oh, the grandmother's great because she's protecting the grandkids and she's trying to advocate for them, and you know she's trying to help the mom, you know, and it seems like the mom constantly giving her blowback after blowback. In the end, we see the big, oh my God, the grandmother was allowing the mom to be SA'd, and that's why the mom hates the grandmother in the movie so much, because it's almost like it's hard to take critique from somebody that you feel like did you wrong. Actually kind of valid or whatever to really feel that way. I've seen this before in real life. Like if a grandmother is like, "Hey, what you're doing is wrong," the mother will immediately go to, "Oh, well, you treated me like this when I was a kid," and so it almost like continues that cycle of violence, because then the grandmother, now that she's older, maybe has more wisdom or whatever, her daughter does not want to hear that from her, because it's like, I don't trust you. I don't trust your opinion because you did that to me. So there was that. I just really felt for the mom in certain moments, like, oh, what is she gonna do? The mom was wrong really hard in these moments. I mean, ultimately, I felt really bad for the kids, you know, the most. But the mom, like, you know, seeing her whole story, like, she was the main character, watching how these events unfold, and what is she supposed to do? Monique, phenomenal, phenomenal. Monique did a great job as a social worker. I had to just quickly cue over to that. Monique did amazing. As always, I love Monique. I feel like she's so funny. She's very talented. She can act. You know, she's 10 out of 10 across the board. I literally, when I saw the movie, I knew she was going to be in it. That's why I watched it. Like, so literally, she's one of those actors, which is not many, but certain actors, I will watch movies when I find out they're in them just because it's them. Like, that's the only reason why I'm watching. And, yeah, so shout out to Monique. She did amazing. She did a great job. Even as a social worker, I mean, she can really play every role at this point. Like seeing her in more horror movies, I love it. I want to keep seeing her in different things. I feel like she's such a dynamic actor, and she brings so much life to the set. That even if she's not like holding 5 hours of screen time, she still holds the attention of the audience strong enough that even like for that moment or a few minutes she's on screen, you keep her in the back of your head even while watching other scenes, which I find really interesting and awesome. And I'm just really happy that her and Lee Daniels have made up and that they're, cool again, that that he was able to admit what he did wrong and apologize, and that she was able to receive the apology because she didn't have to. She really didn't have to. She could have been, okay, no, I'm good, I'm done. But I saw that interview where she was saying how, she said she wanted to fight for her friend. And I was like, that's really beautiful. But yeah, Lee Daniels did a great job. The actors did a great job. I feel like they were cast perfectly. Everybody fit their role. The little boy who had act crazy, great job. Yeah, make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave a comment. And make sure you subscribe. Or something's going to find you, okay? No, but for real, if you don't want to subscribe, don't. Because I actually didn't want your subscription. I didn't want you to subscribe, actually, if you didn't want to. I take it back. Never mind.